But he's not running government anyway. They have a cabal that runs government, a group of people.
He's not running government.
It's an organization founded in 1973 by David Rockefeller to bring together business and political leaders from the United States, Europe, Japan.
Why has nobody been to the moon in such a long time?
That's not an 8-year-old's question. That's my question. I want to know, but I think I know. Because we didn't go there, and that's the way it happened.
I want to be an astronaut.
Oh, you want to be an astronaut? Well, that's great. You can be an astronaut. All you have to do is study flying or science, and maybe someday you could be the first astronaut to walk on the moon.
No! There already was an astronaut who first walked on the moon.
Well, no, not really. That wasn't real. See, there was this thing called the Cold War, and in order to beat the Russians, we kind of faked that. That never happened. See how there's no windows on the side? And see underneath where there's like a pod thing? What's that, right? Take a look at this wreckage. See how there's no plane parts on the ground there? What does that look like?
Now, do you wish like you had a third term? And I used to say, you know what, if I could make an arrangement where I had a stand-in, a front man or front woman, and they had an earpiece in, and I was just in my basement in my sweats looking through the stuff, and then I could sort of deliver the lines, but somebody else was doing all the talking and ceremony, I'd be fine with it.
Permission to leave, I haven't checked.
Today's ceremony, however, has very special meaning. Because today, we are not merely transferring power from one administration to another, or from one party to another, but we are transferring power from Washington, D.C., and giving it back to you, the people.
Tell me what this is. That's right. Pills make us feel so much better when we're sick. My mommy says pills can hurt you. Oh, not if you follow the prescribed FDA regulations. Couldn't the scientists just lie about the test results? Now, Jimmy, why would a scientist lie about test results? To make lots of money. Okay, but that's why we have the FDA to stop scientists from lying. What if the scientists promise the FDA some of the money? Like a bribe? Yeah! No. The FDA would never accept a bribe. How do you know? You know what?
For too long, a small group in our nation's capital has reaped the rewards of government, while the people have borne the cost. Washington flourished, but the people did not share in its wealth. Politicians prospered, but the jobs left and the factories closed. The establishment protected itself, but not the citizens of our country. Their victories have not been your victories. Their triumphs have not been your triumphs. And while they celebrated in our nation's capital, there was little to celebrate for struggling families all across our land. That all changes starting right here and right now. because this moment is your moment. It belongs to you.
Explain his reasoning. Steve, when did the Democratic Party start going south with you?
Well, when they violated my trust, Brian. They told the agencies, the FDA, the CDC, the NIH, said that these vaccines were safe and effective. And when I started seeing my friends die and be injured, and I started looking at the data, there was no question that this vaccine is the most dangerous vaccine ever created by man. It is 1,000 times more deadly than the smallpox vaccine, and that's too unsafe for people to use. And I could not get even a single minute in front of any Democratic congressman. The best I got was that Ro Khanna gave me to a staff member who took 2 months to get back to me. And when I asked if she had read what I had sent her, she said, no, it disagreed with the CDC, so it's not right. And so I didn't really read it. So that's as far as I ever got.
But you didn't stop there. You did your own research. What did you find? What did you find was effective, and what was the reaction when you put it out there?
Well, what I found was that hundreds of thousands of Americans have been killed by this vaccine, and millions have been injured. And, clearly you are more likely to be injured or dead from the vaccine than if you were unvaccinated. So what they're saying, and what the reality is completely opposite. There's a conservative radio show commentator, his name is Wayne Root. He had a wedding 8 months ago, and he had about half conservatives, half of his, they're all pretty much conservatives, okay, but half were vaccinated and half were not vaccinated. And he found that of the 100 people that were vaccinated, he had 26 people who were seriously injured, and he had 7 people who died. And in the unvaccinated group, he had 0 and 0.
So, Steve,
now,
we don't know.
That is statistically impossible,
right,
if the vaccines are safe.
Right.
Because we're going to be waking up. The vast majority of people that have taken the shots are going to be going through a red pill moment. Not taking years, not taking even months or weeks. They'll be trying to absorb all this information in an extremely short period of time, and many of them will go ballistic.
Y'all don't see what the is happening?
On the first slide that the viewers are seeing, this is a patient that came in seeking medical attention before the vaccine. We treated her, and afterwards, this is what her blood looked like. So a couple of months later, she was very happy and feeling much better. She came in, and I looked at her blood after the vaccine. So she told me she had the vaccine, and this is what her blood looked like afterwards. So it was quite shocking to see a patient with completely normal, healthy blood come in after a couple of months. And
you don't give a shit about us. So guess what, boys? I see a great reset coming. I see millions of people across this world getting really pissed off with the likes of you fuckers. And we're gonna stand up and tell you all to go fuck yourself. People, we have the power. These boys can mandate all they want, tell us to do whatever they want. We can tell them to fuck right off too. And it's about time that we all started doing that. So let's get together, people. Let's all stand up. I don't give a shit who you support or what ethnic group you're from. Let's stand up together as people of this world and say we've had enough of being told what to do by the few. I love each and every one of you, and I hope that your life is full of adventure, love, and happiness. But we got to set things aside for a few minutes and straighten these fuckers out. Then we can get on with our lives. God bless each and every one of you.
I'm Washington State Representative Robert J. Sutherland from the 39th District. I'm an Air Force veteran. I'm a scientist from Gonzaga University, where I earned my degree in biochemistry. Don't ask me why. I ran for office, got myself elected. And we here today, thank you, Mike Lindell, for bringing us together, but we here today are going to take back our country, and we're going to fix our election system, and we're going to show them that we're not going to yield, we're not going to bend our knee, we're coming after you. If you're cheating our election system, we're going to throw you in jail.
In the 2020 general elections. The groups united to launch a full-scale investigation led by former members of the U.S. intelligence community, the Department of Defense, NASA, the U.S. National Laboratories, private investigations and cybersecurity companies, and legal firms from around the country. The discoveries gained through intense forensic research left everyone involved deeply concerned about the future of our nation and our world.
I hope everybody saw 2,000 Mules. I hope everybody saw it. And that's determinative, and there's no doubt about it, you know. They'd like to say, you know what they say? Oh, that's been debunked. Said 2,000 Mules, that's where they stuff ballot boxes by the hundreds of thousands of us.
I think she's got some breaking news. And you also sent out an email alert today. You do have some breaking news tonight, right, Sydney?
Yes, we sent out 2 email alerts. One has the contents or some of the contents of the government patents that I believe we discussed briefly last week that show that starting in at least 2003, the government itself developed an interest in and funded patents that will both real-time audit an election, allow them to manipulate the votes in an election, and inject false voters and false identifications for voters, as well as generate an algorithm that can predetermine the results of an election depending on the way they want it to come out.
It belongs to everyone gathered here today and everyone watching all across America. This is your day, this is your celebration, and this, the United States of America, is your country. We have to bring back the death penalty. They have to pay the ultimate price. Death penalty.
You know, in the old days, boom, firing squad. No, it's true.
The drug dealers, the drug pushers they're really doing damage. They're really doing damage. Some countries have a very, very tough penalty, the ultimate penalty.
They don't have a big drug problem in China. They have a thing called the death penalty. In China, if you're selling drugs, it's death. It's the death penalty. I said, Mr. President, do you have a drug problem? No, we do not. I said, big country, 1.4 billion people, right? Not much of a drug problem. I said, what do you attribute that to? Well, the death penalty. So, death penalty. We give death penalty to people that sell drugs. Death penalty. Quick trial. Death penalty. Immediately, with trial, get the death penalty, but quickly. The trial should go fast. The Democrats have chosen their side, and they've sided with the drug cartels. Streetwise, their leaders. These are dictators, presidents, prime ministers. They're very smart people. And who can want that? They've sided with these drug cartels and human traffickers. Almost all trafficking in women, mostly women, and child smugglers and criminals. What truly matters is not which party controls our government, but whether our government is controlled by the people. January 20th, 2017 will be remembered as the day the people became the rulers of this nation again. Engage in human trafficking. I later hosted survivors and experts here at the White House on numerous occasions for a conversation about how we can strengthen and improve our nation's anti-trafficking efforts. Since the time and since that moment, very first moment, we've really made tremendous strides. We're challenging foreign regimes that facilitate this horrible evil of sex trafficking and forced labor, and we're working to take down the criminal organizations that illegally traffic drugs and people across our border, exploiting them for their own gain. And we are pursuing criminal charges against those who perpetrate these monstrous acts and deeds. Last year, my administration prosecuted a record number of traffickers. The Department of Health and Human Services National Human Trafficking Hotline received over 8,500 reports of potential trafficking last year, and our brave heroes at ICE have made over 1,600 human trafficking arrests. The forgotten men and women of our country will be forgotten no longer. Everyone is listening to you now. You came by the tens of millions to become part of a historic movement, the likes of which the world has never seen before. There could be no greater contrast to the beautiful image of a mother holding her infant child than the chilling displays our nation saw in recent days. Lawmakers in New York cheered with delight upon the passage of legislation that would allow a baby to be ripped from the mother's womb moments from birth. These are living, feeling, beautiful babies who will never get the chance to share their love and their dreams with the world. And then we had the case of the governor of Virginia, where he stated he would execute a baby after birth. To defend the dignity of every person, I am asking Congress to pass legislation to prohibit the late-term abortion of children who can feel pain in the mother's womb.
I took their money and they put me out in front of the cameras and told me what to say, and that's what I'd say. Wow. We've gathered here today to pay homage to the children that are being aborted in this abortuary. We're doing this because abortion is wrong. And I, as the former Jane Roe of Roe versus Wade, do regret signing the affidavit for the pro-abortion camps. That was probably about it.
It was all an act.
Yeah. I did it well, too. I am a good actress. Of course, I'm not acting now.
The jig is up.
Most stomach-churning allegation here, ischemia, blood flow. Does it appear to you, reading these hundreds of pages of documents you got, that the organs of these babies, specifically the kidneys, were indeed being harvested while they were still alive?
Yes, absolutely. That's the most troubling and the most outrageous part. One of the most outrageous parts, certainly probably the most troubling of everything that we're finding in these.
Of course, babies are alive from the moment of conception. Everyone who has ever seen an ultrasound knows it. Second, children are male or female. Parents learn the hard way that sex is not a social construct. Social constructs don't pee on you while you're giving them a bath. Children are individuals. People who know lots of kids know that identity politics is nonsense. Everyone is born different. The only diversity that matters is the universal diversity of each child of God. Children are creative. There is no greater proof of the wisdom of markets than the restless inventiveness of a single 6-year-old. Spend 5 minutes outdoors with a pack of kids and you'll see they're not going to destroy the environment, they're going to save it. Children are brave, terrifyingly brave. Girls are fierce and independent, boys are heroically reckless. They are not the helpless, timid victims leftists say people are. And just as important, neither are we. That's the left's real problem with children. They create families. They turn boys into men, couples into parents, and women into the archangels we call moms. This understanding of family rejects the old forms of authoritarianism just as it rejects the newer evils of eugenics. America's founders didn't seek to build a utopia out of the bloodstream of elites, but a republic where every child born in America, no matter the meanness of his origins, has limitless potential and a spark of the divine.
Because we cannot get reelected. We cannot win this reelection. Excuse me, we can only reelect Donald Trump. To ensure that we rebuild America, we have held a promise.
As a First Lady's husband contracted COVID, but look at this room and what you see. That's right.
Because you can't build a wall high enough to keep out a vaccine. The vaccine can stop the spread of these diseases. You're okay. You're not going to get COVID if you have these vaccinations. Hey folks, guess you heard this morning I tested positive for COVID.
When people are vaccinated, they can feel safe that they are not going to get infected.
Dr. Fauci says he has COVID again.
Homeschooling their kids recently. Why is that? Well, because of stories like this one. Jen Mason is a school board director in the state of Washington. She recently held an open mic night for kids under 18, including toddlers who identify as, quote, queer. Now she's hosting a series of sex ed workshops for kids as young as 9, because they needed to hear her views on sex, not their parents, hers. And says tonight for a recap, Jason Rantz, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, this story is so much creepier than I think people realize. So Jen Mason is inviting parents to bring kids as young as 9 years old to a private workshop next month. It's titled Uncringe Academy, and it's billed as an inclusive sex ed class, which she says offers, quote, empowerment and information rather than shame, fear, and judgment. Okay, but it also offers what I think most people might consider wildly inappropriate content for kids. Amongst the topics taught to these 9-year-olds will be gender and sexual identities, sexual anatomy for pleasure, what is sex, kinds of solo and partnered sexual activities, plus safer sex practices for all kinds of sexual activities. Now, when I asked the school board director about the material, she kind of downplayed a lot of it. She claimed that discussions about sex acts would not actually be the main focus of this course. But how does she define sex to these kids? It turns out rather nebulously. She told me in part, sex can really be any activity that a person does with themselves or others to become aroused. There's no such thing as real sex, and it's okay if your definition of sex is different from someone else's, a woman after Bill Clinton's heart. If you haven't been creeped out up until this point, how about this? The workshop's being held at Wink Wink Boutique, which is an all-ages sex shop in downtown Bellingham. You see, when Mason isn't actually serving on the school board, she runs Wink Wink as the owner, where she's also a sex coach. So these kids will walk past edible lubricant and suede floggers and sex toys named the Womanizer on the way to learn about inappropriate sex topics.
I don't understand. You talk to my 9-year-old in graphic ways about sex in a public park, I punch you in the face and call the cops. You do it in a school and I have to pay your salary and shut up? How does this work?
Yeah, I mean, they're very clearly leaning towards the more sort of woke curriculum. And of course, if you say anything, you're in the wrong, they're in the right, they know better.
Right. Yeah, I hope parents won't put up with it. Jason Rantz, thank you for your report, as always.
Hello, Wink Wink.
Hello. So I have a question for you. I'm thinking about coming in there and checking out some of those horse cocks you guys sell. Problem is, I'm babysitting my grandkid and he's only 10. Is he allowed in the store?
Yeah. I don't know, for kids to be looking at this, is that okay? No, it's not. It's wrong. This is propaganda. Yeah. This is normalizing. It's affecting the next generation. Desensitization. Yeah. I don't know why no one sees this. No. This is disgusting.
So who bought the tranny? Who bought the pedophile? Hold on. No, thank you. Who bought the pedophile? We want to know. Yeah, that's disgusting. Yeah, no, this is sick. You are sick. You are sick. Look at these poor children.
It's all based on sexuality.
These poor children. Yeah, you like that, don't you, you sick fuck?
That is not what's happening.
That's the thing that's reading to these kids.
It talks about children in this video.
Okay, what is
the drag? Glorifying drugs? What?
What's that?
That's that person right there.
Yeah, there you go. Bring your kids.
All the kids looking up to me can suck my D. It's disgusting. This is what you.
This is sick. This is the thing that's here reading to children. Wake up. Wake up.
What in the hell has a drag queen ever done to make you have so much respect for them and admire them so much? Other than put on makeup and jump on the floor and writhe around and do sexual things on stage. I have absolutely no idea why you would want that to influence your child. Would you want a stripper or a porn star to influence your child? It makes no sense at all. A drag queen performs in a nightclub for adults. There is a lot of filth that goes on, a lot of sexual stuff that goes on. And backstage, there's a lot of nudity, sex, and drugs. Okay? So I don't think that this is an avenue you would want your child to explore. They could explore dressing up at home, like we all did, like all gay boys did. We all dressed at home and we had a great time. We had a great time with our girlfriends, putting on makeup, trying on clothes, things like that. But to actually get them involved in drag is extremely, extremely irresponsible on your part. And I understand you might want to look like you're with it, that you're cool, that you're woke, that you're not a Nazi, that you're not a homophobe, whatever it may be.
All the kids looking up to me can suck my.
But you can raise your child to be just a normal, regular, everyday child without including them in gay, sexual things. And honestly, you're not doing the gay community any favors. In fact, you're hurting us, okay? We have already had a reputation of being pedophiles and being perverts and deviants. We don't need you to bring your children around. So you keep your kids at home, or take them to Disneyland, or take them to Chuck E. Cheese. But if you need your child to be entertained by a big human in a costume or in makeup, take them to the circus or something. When they turn 18, then why don't you take them to the clubs on their 18th birthday? Because it's an adult thing, okay? So don't ruin your child's life, and don't ruin us, because that's what you're doing.
After seeing a September 9th school board meeting in Texas on pornography in the schools, I decided to check the titles at my child's school, Fairfax High School. The books were available, and we checked them out. Both of these books include pedophilia, sex between men and boys. Both books describe different acts. One book describes a 4th grade boy performing oral sex on an adult male. The other book has detailed illustrations of a man having sex with a boy. The illustrations include fellatio, sex toys, masturbation, and violent nudity. Pedophilia here. From the author, Maya Kobabe. Quote, "I can't wait to have your cock in my mouth. I am going to give you the blowjob of your life, and then I want you inside me." End quote. From the author, Jonathan Evison. "What if I told you I touched another guy's dick? What if I told you I sucked it? I was 10 years old, but it's true. I sucked Doug Goebel's dick, the real estate guy, and he sucked mine too." This is not an oversight at Fairfax High School.
Sorry. There are children in the audience here.
Do not interrupt my time. These books are in stock and available in the libraries of Robinson, for high school students, ma'am. And Annandale High School.
My name is Steve Adams. I did have, as of today, 2 children in the district. 1 year ago, I had my first taste of just what a crap show the Central Kitsap School District was. When I voiced my concerns about very concerning issues facing the district and my 2 children, I was ignored. I was scoffed at by board directors when I spoke in front of them. I watched board members roll their eyes at me and my ideas for improving the cancerous issues that threaten this district. I've watched many parents, grandparents, and teachers of the district cry before you, pleading with you to fix the ridiculousness that pervades this district. I've watched for a year how all of you have given your consent to pornography, child pornography, to be distributed to our children. I've had a front row seat in witnessing all of you in this district kowtow to minority special interest groups. I've watched all of you get up out of your chairs and run from concerned citizens, not once but twice. I've watched all of you tolerate your fellow board director, Rob McDermott, display such ridiculous behavior that you had to write new district policy because of him. I've witnessed all of you break state and federal law on a weekly basis and give continual excuses when called on the carpet. I thought I had seen it all by the time Drake Jackson was caught lying and admitted to it while giving official testimony to our state legislature about how threatening all of us are, about how we all bring weapons to school board meetings. I gave you an entire year to turn yourselves around, and you couldn't do it. This community dislikes this district so bad, at least 50% of the community voted not once but twice to deny you millions of dollars in a levy. Tonight, I'm pleased to announce that you will never have the privilege of educating my children again. As of tonight, you are being notified that my family is 100% done with the Central Kitsap School District. My children will never step foot in district buildings again for academic purposes. You will never receive again the $34,000 the state gives you for both of them. You did this. You are responsible for this. Shame on you. I gave you plenty of chances. The whole community gave you chance after chance after chance, and you failed over and over again for a solid year. You are each individually and collectively responsible for failing the children, their parents, their families, and local citizens. I don't think it's possible for this ship to be righted. That's why I'm placing my children as of tonight on a life raft that will take them away from this sinking ship. Now, I know right now some of you are probably jumping for joy inside with relief, thinking that because I'm pulling my children, you won't have to deal with me or their mother anymore. You are wrong. We aren't going anywhere. You still spend our tax dollars, and children still need to be protected from you. Think about those last 8 words. Children still have to be protected from you. Thousands of the people in this community think exactly that. I'm not going anywhere. I'll see you embarrassments in 2 weeks. Let's go, Brandon.
So I misunderstand. Are we saying that 2 + 2, if you say it's 4, that's racist? I mean, that sounds like we may be mischaracterizing it. What, if you can quickly sum it up?
No, that's not mischaracterizing it at all. Math is basically racist under this ideology because it says there is no such thing as an objective reality. So 4 might not be the right number. 2 + 2 might actually equal 5.
Because of the 5th grade teacher who lined those students up, and the white ones needed to apologize to the black ones.
A lady yelled at me for being a dude in the women's restroom. I'm a girl.
Good evening.
Good evening. I'm biracial, I'm bilingual, I'm multicultural. The fact is, in America, in North Carolina, I can do anything I want, and I teach that to my children. And the person who tells my little pecan-colored kids that they're somehow oppressed based on the color of their skin would be absolutely wrong and absolutely at war with me. And I think that's the same for every parent. What the mask showed us is that the parents, the most powerful group of people in our country, that they're taking back the wheel. Now, obviously, we had to take the wheel back for the mask, but we're taking the wheel back from Washington all the way to Raleigh and into our local school board. Because CRT, all of that, the parents don't want it. It's a big fat lie. There's not one, if you believe in CRT, I want to tell you you're a liar, because that means you look at your black neighbor and say that they're oppressed, and you look at your white neighbor and say that they're evil, regardless of the experience that you've had with them. And we're not going to do that. The parents in the United States of America, right here in North Carolina and Cabarrus County, we know that's not true because we believe the lives we live. The fact is, I've been a business owner right here in North Carolina, and I deal with white people, black people, Hispanic people. My children deal with everybody. And the racism is only happening at the government level and on the media. The fact is, you have racists, and there's you can't even find them hardly. You just hear the stories about them. But this is what we're dealing with. The parents are taking the wheel. I have an 8-year-old daughter who is absolutely dynamic, who can do anything. Athletically, intellectually, spiritually, and emotionally, she is a dynamo. And I don't want a man swimming against her in the pool. The fact is, I don't want her playing against boys in soccer. I don't even let my sons rough her up. Do you think I'm going to let your son rough her up? This is what we're talking about. Policy going back to the parents. Because if you think people who love America are willing to fight for it, you haven't met parents yet. Because I'm telling you, parents will go further down any street than anyone who loves their country alone. My name is Brian Echeverria. I thank you for your service, and we're taking back the wheel.
Thank you for being here. People like me, at first, when they heard that the FDA approved the Pfizer vaccine, we thought it was another major battle that we lost, but it actually is the winning move. Trump knows human behavior. He knew what they were going to do. So brilliant strategist. Once the FDA approved it, they had to adhere to CGMP protocols. So they need to confirm within the next 2 weeks what's in the vials. They need to send the vials to the FDA, and they need to finalize the labeling. And I'm going to read it to you straight from the FDA approval letter. As soon as possible, but no later than 14 days from the date of this letter, please submit the final content labeling per section 601.14 and upload it to this link. And this is also related to, please submit final container samples of the product and final containers together with any protocol showing results of all applicable tests. You must submit reports of biological product deviations under section 600.14. Now, the reason why Trump is so brilliant is because under the emergency use authorization, he knew the American people would speak up. He knew the American people knew our rights, that under EUA, you can't make a mandate. So what are these commie socialist leaders going to do, including Austin at the Pentagon? I need you to approve this so I can force our military. What are the school boards saying? We need you to approve this so we can force this on your children, by the way. And all of these communist, liberal, social governors are like, we need this approved right now so we can force our state residents to get injected. And when they did that, that meant once the FDA approved it, they had to adhere to CGMP protocols. So they need to confirm within the next 2 weeks what's in the vial.
Is this a game changer for Big Pharma? Could this be a sort of a life-ending event for some of the big pharmaceutical companies, considering how many millions, hundreds of millions of people have been vaccinated worldwide?
It's the end of the pharmaceutical industry as we know it. It's the end of government-regulated healthcare as we know it.
We're seeing reports of people having an illness for a short period and then some deaths, and we've reported about those earlier on. That's been reported elsewhere in Australia, around the world, where it's myocarditis, which I think I've referred to on a previous occasion.
Now, we all know in the Pfizer trial that was published in the medical literature that more people died who got the vaccine than who got the placebo. In other words, the vaccine killed more people than the placebo did. Now, it's not supposed to work that way for a vaccine, right? Vaccines are supposed to save lives.
I'm here at Pfizer in Collegeville, and the whole complex is totally empty. Interesting. Guardhouse, empty.
Okay, tell us a little bit more about Freedom Medical Association.
We're going to make an announcement today that we're starting a new healthcare company that's going to be focused on healthcare for all Americans, children, seniors. And what we really believe is that this is a time that we can break new ground, really bring trust back to the doctor-patient relationship, but also build a future for healthcare where people won't be turned away when they're sick. People will be having to spend time with trusted doctors that value their lives. So we're very excited about it. I'm making an announcement tonight about it.
Big announcement. We're the first ones to break it here today. So tell us a little bit more about this healthcare. Is it more insurance-based, or, I mean, how does this work?
It's going to be 3 levels. Obviously, it's telemedicine. Okay. Then we're going into insurance, and then we're going into the pharmaceutical side of it. So we're really excited about building a new bridge so we can have a healthy society and healthy community where people will then start to trust us again, trust the healthcare system. And right now, no one trusts it.
I mean, you're not wrong. There's a lot of crazy information going on right now.
Well, none of it's never made any sense. But guess what? This is a great opportunity to rebirth healthcare in this country. That's what's so important. Right now, we're moving into the solution phase. We're getting from the defensive to the offensive, and it's a great opportunity. Listen, over the last couple of years, I've traveled all around the country, 250,000 miles, and people were talking about, why is this happening to us? Why are doctors turning us away? Why are hospitals turning into prisons? What do we do? How do we break away from this system? How do we gain more transparency between the relationship between the doctor and the patient? So that's where we are right now. And guess what? Freedom Med is that new company that's going to pave the way and break the chains and push out into a new world about how we build a healthy society.
What do y'all look for in your doctors or any of your employees that's going to make this different from the rest of the doctors and healthcare?
We want doctors that believe in the Hippocratic Oath. We want doctors that value life. We want doctors that value real health care. So, you know, if you're that kind of doctor and you want to be in our system, you have a home. But if you're a doctor that believes that what the corporations tell you to do over our lives, well, you're not welcome in that system.
Facebook's independent fact-checker may not be so independent after all. A US congressman has questioned the impartiality of factcheck.org, which is supposed to tackle vaccine disinformation because it's indirectly funded by jab manufacturer Johnson & Johnson.
Who pays the paychecks of the fact-checkers? The vaccine fact-checkers at factcheck.org, who claim to be independent, are funded by an organisation that holds over $1.8 billion of stocks in a vaccine company and is run by a former director of the Centers for Disease Control.
The fact-checking account responded to the accusations by making clear its funding sources. The Robert Wood Johnson Foundation's one of the benefactors and holds billions in Johnson & Johnson stock. The foundation's CEO is Richard Besser, who was a former acting director of the Centre for Disease Control. But factcheck.org claims there's no interference in its editorial decisions, and the foundation's views aren't necessarily reflected in its decisions. But author and liberal studies expert Michael Rechtenwald believes such connections pose risks to the public.
At the center of this movement is a crucial conviction that a nation exists to serve its citizens. Americans want great schools for their children, safe neighborhoods for their families, and good jobs for themselves. These are just and reasonable demands of righteous people and a righteous public.